Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have survived the fest, and this is our first show post 2024 New York Fest. Welcome back to Two Legs. This is episode number 238. My name is Andy Nichols, one of the co-hosts of Two Legs, and I am joined today by my partner, one of the co-founders of Two Legs, and I believe donning his Two Legs hoodie, and that's Tom Hunyadi.
Hello, yeah, let me get a little pan down there.
He is.
The Two Legs hoodie that I'm very proud to have, own, and wear. This was, MVP again. Thank you for everything that you do, and very comfy, and wear it with pride. But
Yeah,
hello everybody. Hello Andy, and yeah, still coming down from the fest. The adrenaline was
think I'm just about
going
recovered.
full force. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was a rough, overnight, didn't sleep much. My flight was at 7, so I wanted to try to get to my terminal by 5. So, didn't didn't sleep until I got on the plane, and it made the plane ride, a lot shorter because I slept for most of it. So, but great time again. Thank you for everyone that came up to us and talked to us, and people that we met for the first time. We met the ranking the Beatles crew. So
Yep.
proud to say that I'm working on right now, getting a spot on there to do an episode. Andy, I think they're going to reach out to you soon too, and get you on ranking the Beatles show. So it's just so much fun, and just makes me proud that people wear our buttons, people wear our shirts, and people come up to us and say, hey, they like what we're doing.
Yeah. It was that was really kind of that was every day times 4 with everybody who we met, and we recapped everything. We have the 2 panels that I participated on, which are up on our channel, and the historians and the generational panel,
Right.
which was great, and better sound quality this year. I put that little Paul is live disclaimer on there on the one video. I don't know if you saw that. This might not be critical for people of a critical disposition. I put on there because just people love to complain about everything. Oh, it's to this or it's to that. Well, it's everybody loves to just complain about something. So yeah, so we're finally putting the fest is over with, and we're moving on from that, and seeing everybody.
And we got Chicago to look forward to.
We do in August, and happy to report that we'll be there again for that, and this will be Tom's first Chicago, which will be fest to go to, which will be great because I've been flying solo for 2 years out there, but it'll be nice to have him in Chicago. Yeah, poll news wise, things are pretty quiet.
Just the base, just that. It's all about that base right now.
Yeah, the base that was found, and everybody and their mother was sharing that article and posting it. Oh, the legendary base was found. So what the base was the Let It Be base that was found, right? Not the.
Well, I mean, from my understanding, it was lost in 72.
Yeah, Wings tour.
I just don't know how. Yeah, I just don't know how far back the base went because I hadn't read the article yet, to be honest with you. It was just something like, oh, he found it. Okay, great. So I haven't really read any of the articles to get any of the full details.
No, I haven't either.
Perhaps I should, since we do this. But been busy.
Yeah, we haven't. I did read everybody was found in an attic, and there's lots of other details coming out about that now. And I think Joe Mantaneo, he shared an article with me. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. A mom of 2 panicked to find Sir Paul McCartney's missing guitar in a loft. He had sent me that article, but yeah, it does look like the bass, the Let It Be bass, with the double with the double neck look thing. So we're not musicians here, David. So
right. So you never know what you're gonna find and when you're gonna find it, whether it's in an attic, whether if it's in a toaster, a bread box. It's just
no.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, other than that, Paul did drop his second season of the podcast, the lyrics, that has been trickling out, and I know that some people really enjoy that, and we have not addressed that yet because, honestly, we know most of the stories on there already, and you do too. I think, if anything, we'll do a show where we talk about some of the solo songs he talks about, because the Beatles stories we know. I don't think we need to dedicate a show just to his taught him talking about Beatles songs that we know chapter and verse he can recite. Solo songs, maybe if he adds anything to interesting. I haven't heard all of them, but most of he did one on Uncle Albert. I know that. He's done a few solo songs, not a ton. Mull of Kintyre was one.
I mean, the thing is right, these are just extended interviews from when Paul was conducting the interviews for the lyrics book, really.
That's all it is.
I mean, so what's in the lyrics book, I mean, is going to be in those podcasts as well. So if you read it, I mean, there's a good chance you're going to, and I'm at the point right now where for me, it's really tough to listen to a Paul McCartney interview. Just because we know the questions they're going to ask, we know the answers he's going to give. There's not too many people out there that are creatively asking him different, more creative questions to challenge him, right? So it's just getting really tough.
They're more than likely not allowed to ask those questions.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. As we know, I mean, as far back as 1980, Vic Garbarini, when he conducted the McCartney, what we know now as the McCartney interview from Musician magazine, he was told that he cannot ask about the Beatles.
Right. So when you're gonna get these, I am sure that there are plenty of authors and journalists out there that want to ask the questions we want to ask. I know they are because they're music fans too. They want to ask them about deep tracks, wing stuff, but the likely, the truth is that he probably can't remember. So they're going to keep it to, something that he knows that he can answer well. Unless it's something special like that Tom Frangione did with him for Tug of War, and they did a kind of track by track thing on Tug of War, which was pretty interesting and fresh because it was different. Even though some of the stories kind of went back to the Beatles, but he did kind of talk about the tracks on the album. So I totally get, it is very hard to listen to a Paul McCartney interview these days. I totally agree. And old ones which we've done and listened to and old ones are great. From the 80s and anything up until about the anthology. Especially the 80s. Anything up until about the anthology, you're going to get pretty raw, candid answers. Anything after the anthology is going to be pure nostalgia. I think it's a dividing line for that, because everything was hunky-dory. As we learned from our panel discussion correctly from Adrian Sinclair, thank you, that I know that we had said 74 was the end of the Beatles dissolution. It was not. It really didn't legally end until 89, which is why the anthology could happen. But we talked about it. So that's all throughout the 80s. You've got Paul talking to, who's the chap we spoke to a couple of years ago with the Q interview.
Chris
Salavic, right? So Chris Salavic. Interviews like that, which are some interviews he did in '84. They were just you definitely have more juicy bits to talk about with Paul in the '80s than he is now. So something like the lyrics, it's like, okay, we know those stories, so it's interesting to listen to, but to do a show about it, I don't think we're there yet. Unless we hear something really awesome to talk about. I mean, it's available as a podcast. Go listen to it. But if you've got the book, then you know the story. To your point. But other than that, it's, the underdubbed is still in the rotation and enjoying it. That's been out 2 weeks.
I did watch what's his name's video on when he reviewed
Andrew.
I watched his where he agreed with me where he thought it was the best sounding Band on the Run yet to date. So I do need to get a UK copy because he was talking about how well the UK copy of Band on the Run sounded. So I think that's still one of the copies that I still need to get out of the
UK pressing. Yeah. Well, you get to that point when you actually just try to get. And we had this great chat with again Adrian. We're talking about you collect a lot of international singles. I do a little bit, not nearly to the extent you do. And Adrian was like, I just get U.S. and U.K. Anything after those two countries can be very dangerous. And he's right. And I try to do the same thing. I try to get an American copy and a U.K. pressing for just about every album. And I'm almost there, but not there yet.
Right.
With Band on the Run. But it's still in the rotation and still enjoy
in my car.
Yeah,
in my car, listen to it. So I'm still enjoying it. Yeah.
Did you get the regular half-speed master with the Obi strip?
Not yet.
I know.
Look, it's still available on Amazon. Oh, and by the way, I mean, well, I shouldn't probably say this now because I don't know how long. Because we're gonna post it's what Monday, and we're gonna post this Saturday.
Yeah,
Um, the McCartney Legacy book on is $12 on Amazon right now. So I don't know if it's gonna be that come when this is posted, but you never know.
15 actually, $15.
Yeah, there you go. So if you don't have it yet, and if it's still on sale, pick it up. Yeah,
fifteen
there you go.
dollars. Come on.
Yes, 15
That
bucks. Can't
that's
beat that.
that's a steal. I mean, go out and get that book. And I think I'm actually going to reread it and getting ready for volume 2.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
I'm
And you'll
still
be
work
seeing you'll be seeing Adrian and Alan on our show again real soon, and maybe on a little bit of a consistent basis as well.
Yes, stay tuned for that. So yeah, McCartney Legacy definitely worth a reread before volume 2 comes out in December. I'm still working my way through the Mal book. I'm halfway through. I'm up to the Beatles in India right now, and Mal's with them, and I'm about halfway through the Mal book. I,
Mm.
I will finish it probably, hopefully, in another month or so. I'm halfway done, so I'm not going to ask because I'm sure it's on your list.
Well, it is, and then plus, we picking up the Dark Horse
Yep,
Records book by with Aaron Badgley, because I am going to propose that we get him on Talk More Talk, talk about the book there, and going through this is a fascinating story. Listen, even that's again. You want to write a book? That's kind of like the niche right there, right? To read about something that not a lot of people
I've
know
done
about
before.
is the business
The
is the
label,
label
the label
business,
about Dark
yeah,
Horse, the business of it,
right,
not just George having records on it, like the business of Dark
right,
Horse Records, the
right,
bands, obviously. And we attended Aaron's presentation on his book, and I'm glad that I got the last copy.
yeah,
Bands like
yeah.
Splinter and all these other bands that are talked
Well,
about.
see, that's yeah, because when he's first signed with A&M, and then when he went to Warner Brothers, not everybody he signed went to Warner Brothers. So that was pretty fascinating, and really he did a really good presentation talking about the book with Darren DeVivo. So
Yeah,
again, look this up: Dark Horse Records, the story of George Harrison's post Beatles record label. Um, Check it out.
for sure. Today's topic. Now, something we've talked about in the past, but on a
Yes.
more kind of an all-encompassing scale of just discussing compilations as a whole. I thought it would be kind of fun and fresh to look at probably the first compilation that I know I definitely identified with, and I think you did too, just where we are with our ages. Maybe
Yeah.
it was Wings Greatest for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I did have Wings Greatest prior
You
to All the
did.
Best.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. It depends on your age. So today's conversation is basically going to be about All the Best. Okay. And here is the original cassette version, American, from
All the
1987.
best and all the versions that we have.
Yeah. CD, UK. We'll
Yeah.
show them in a minute. We'll get them out. We'll show them all.
Right.
I just think it's a great period to talk about Paul's career. We've mentioned it before. Crossroads
Yeah.
time, back end of Broad Street and Pipes and Press to Play. He has a new manager that he signs up with the gentleman's name was Richard Ogden, who comes into the picture now, and really kind of just gives Paul's career just a shot in the arm. And the marketing campaign for All the Best was phenomenal. I mean, he promoted it. He did live appearances in
Yeah.
the UK. The TV spots for it. I mean, and it's very hard to appreciate now in the digital age, and we have every format of everything. We have 100 copies of everything. But as a young kid, this thing was like my Bible, man. Like I had a little small stereo. I was 8 years old, and I had Paul
Right.
McCartney's greatest hits on tape. It was like gold, man. I mean, we look at it now. Everything from the artwork, the drawings of all the songs, like those images are like burned in my brain as growing up. It's the only way you had these songs, like all on one tape. It's hard to
Right.
appreciate 35 years later, but this was a wonderful introductory point to get a overview of Paul's career at a time when you were coming into it. Now you had Wings Greatest, so you already knew the hits by this time, right?
Right. I knew the hits. I mean, again, for somebody that did work but didn't have a lot of money, and was getting stuff, starting to slowly get solo stuff. It was greatest hits first, right? So I did have had Wings Greatest. I did have then I got All the Best. And I remember too because then I bought the single for My Brave Face, so I felt like, oh, I'm complete. I've got everything I need. So but yeah, it was great. I mean, that was really all you needed. As a starter,
As a
right?
starter, right? It's
Yeah,
all you needed.
Wings Greatest and all the best.
Right, and Wings Greatest gave you some tracks that were not on this, so it was everything you needed to kind of get going. But I mean,
Now let me ask you this:
yeah.
Is it all the best? Is there some tracks maybe missing from at least the U.S.?
Well, we'll
I mean,
get
look,
into that with the
yeah,
different
right,
tracks. Is it all the best? For an American audience, I think that this pretty much nails it. You've got Junior's Farm on here. You've got Uncle Albert, big hit in America. What do you think is missing from the American release that's not
well, I
on
mean,
here?
look, I mean, you got two top tens that are not on there. You got Take It Away, and you've also got Spies Like Us. I mean, two top 10
Mm,
hit top 10.
true.
Listen, I know there's still. I say what you will about those tracks, whether you like them or dislike them. There's still top 10 hits that maybe should have been.
I
I mean, because there's so much more on the international copy than there
oh
is
yeah.
on the U.S. copy.
True. And I out of those two songs you mentioned, partner, I think Take It Away is the one. That's the glaring one that needed to be
Yeah,
on there. It really did.
agreed, agreed.
It absolutely had to be. I think even more than Spies Like Us. I mean, I know that was top 10, but Take It Away, brilliant video, brilliant song. One of his best known songs that would have been on here easily. It would have done very well on here. I mean, obviously you get the 8-week number one Ebony and Ivory represented on here. It was just mesmerizing to watch. Like, okay, this is Paul as a solo artist, and I'm like seeing him for the first time. I heard things like "Good Night Tonight." Didn't know that before. I had all the best. I didn't know those. I didn't know Sea Moon. I think the only song I think I really knew was Uncle Albert. I didn't know anything else really before this, and then so it was a perfect starting point. And then it was just professionally made. I mean, it was just look at it. It's just classic.
So
Just
was this your first? Was this your first solo Paul anything?
yes, because then
Okay.
and then the next thing was Flowers in the Dirt. So this is where I first connected with Paul was this compilation, and becoming collectors as we grew into it, but learning about the UK version. I think you and I both agree now that's the better version, right? Do you
Well,
or
yeah,
not?
only because the '80s are more representative on the UK version, right? I mean, because look, he had two big hits in the UK. We All Stand Together and Once Upon a Long Ago. In the '80s that we
And
didn't know
and
about
and
here in
and
the
pipes
US.
of correct and
And
pipes of
Pipes of
peace,
Peace, correct. You know,
right?
so and then even So Bad, So Bad was a kind of, I guess you can say, minor hit. I mean that could have been on the U.S. version as well.
It could have been. It could have been. But no, maybe I'm amazed on here though either on the
But
CD
I'm
version
fine
anyway.
with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with no. Maybe I'm amazed because again, I mean, as somebody that prefers the studio version over the live version, that wasn't. We all know that the studio version wasn't a single.
Right. So, but the vinyl has maybe I'm amazed, which is pretty interesting.
Right.
The CD does not. Um, yeah. See
Well,
the UK
yeah,
vinyl, and you can tell it's the UK vinyl because there's your Pipes of Peace artwork and stuff.
yeah,
The UK
right,
vinyl had included the studio. Maybe I'm amazed on it. So, I mean,
right,
just running it down now. Okay, UK, Jet, Band on the Run. The Coming Up, that's the studio version of Coming Up, not the
right.
live version. Ebony and Ivory, Listen to What the Man Said, No More Lonely Nights, Silly Love Songs, Let 'Em In, Sea Moon, Pipes of Peace, Live and Let Die, Another Day, Maybe I'm Amazed, Good Night Tonight, Once Upon a Long Ago, Say, With a Little Luck, My Love, We All Stand Together, and Mulleth Can Tire. To me,
Right.
obviously, the UK is the home run.
I think so too because plus you're adding Mulligan Tire. I believe that's the edit version of With a Little Luck.
That
Right.
is the yeah
On both of them. On both of them.
on both
You
of them, the
know.
345,
Yeah.
not the full
Right.
synth, right?
Right.
But
Correct.
it was just a really smart thing of Paul's management to do this at the time when his career kind of really needed it to throw together a really classy package, double album, single CD of his best hits and present it in a way.
Maybe it did. Maybe it was a shot in the arm, it wasn't really a shot in the arm here because it didn't do as well as it did in the UK. In the UK, I think it went to number 2.
It did very well in the
Here
UK.
it didn't fare as well because plus it also had Once Upon a Long Ago to help boost
Well,
sales.
we'll get to that as well too, because he threw that on there. Even things down to like even on the artwork. Like take a look on the artwork of the album here, right on the sides.
Right.
You've
Yeah.
got the album artwork represented here. There's the
Yes.
pipes. There's London Town. There's the Red Rose.
Yeah.
You know,
Love it.
there's so all the little detail that goes into it. Now, it did well, probably better in the UK because of the TV appearances. You know, you go on YouTube, you can find
Right.
Paul singing, or I'm sorry, miming to Listen to What the Man Said, which I believe was on the Wogan show. Numerous times. I mean, he plugged the hell out of Once Upon a Long Ago. And this was a time for Paul to really put a package together, but also say, hey, here's a new song I wrote too, and I'm going to throw it in there with Once Upon a Long Ago, which he has not done since. I mean, unless you want to count Hope for the Future being on Pure McCartney, but we had already had that.
Oh, it had already been out for a few years
by that point. But it was really brave, pun intended, to put a single on it and push it. And as we know, history tells us that Waterspout was also tempted to be included on this.
Good point. I think that was going to be on the U.S. Version, but for some reason, whatever reason, they decided to cancel it at the last minute.
I think we have to go back and look at this, or actually I have to play it at least. We just talked about it, the edited version of With a Little Luck being on here. I'm looking at my UK copy right now, With a Little Luck, 5:45.
Excellent, yeah.
So I'll have to give it a spin, but because sometimes they make that mistake, you know, they might say it's the full version and you listen to it, and then it's the edited version, which we heard actually in the car when we were at the fest, and Tom goes to me, will it be the edited version? And then you guys were singing your hearts out to some song about sex or something. I don't know. What the hell was it? George Michael?
I want your sex.
Oh my God. Fucking 4 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
It was. But Waterspout, the lost, you know, the London Town's aborted session songs, which would have, I mean, what do you bump out? What do you bump out on the American version to put on for Waterspout if you had to? What are you going to
put? Don't have to. I don't think, because there's still more room. I thought there was, because I think the U.S. version, here, hold on. The U.S. version is 72 minutes and 14 seconds, okay? Whereas the international version is 86 minutes. 86 minutes. That's 14 more minutes. Right?
Right.
That you could add stuff to it. You could have put Waterspout on there. Okay? You could have put Take It Away on there if you wanted to.
You could have. It's interesting to see what that was. You know, maybe it's like, well, I've already putting a new song on here. I'm going to put an unreleased song on here too. I don't know. It just to me it marked the period of Paul. I don't know, just being a little more confident and giving him the confidence to go do it again. And again, also this period, it brings in together like this like lost single of Once Upon a Long Ago and Back on My Feet, which is just it's such an oddity to see how that single has been buried in history. I mean, Back on My Feet we got again on the archive issue of Flowers in the Dirt, great. But I mean, Paul went to crazy lengths to promote this single in 86 and 87. He markets it with All the Best. He does these performances of all Once Upon a Long Ago, multiple versions of the single, using the same All the Best artwork. You know, like here's the extended single. Okay, it's the same. It's the same photo shoot. Okay, so puts together a wonderfully produced song by Phil Ramone in Once Upon a Long Ago. Great track, easily top 10, I think, for most people. And within this All the Best period, it just vanishes. It just vanishes. This song in Back of My Feet, which was the first song that Costello helped him finish, I believe, right? The Elvis Costello comes into the picture now and helps him finish up Back of My Feet. And, you know, I buy this single and I'm like, this is a great song. Let me read the sleeve notes. The sleeve notes have nothing about Once Upon a Long Ago on it at all. I'm like, what the hell? Like, you know, so it's you know, and again, I didn't learn about that till later, obviously, as a later fan, but fascinating period, 86, 87 with Paul coming in here. Like, when was your first experience? When did you first hear Once Upon a Long Ago and Back of My Feet? Like, you know, like
10 years ago, maybe.
10.
I mean, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, when did I start getting those 93 editions? I think it was probably late '90s, early 2000s when I finally heard the Once Upon a Long Ago.
You did. Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
then all this, the Once Upon a Long Ago, the CD single from Japan,
Right.
the video disc from Japan.
Yeah.
He's gone to some great lengths here to, promote himself, and it's just for what? Like, okay, like, I guess maybe we're talking 35 years later. We wish he would just embrace this a little bit more. Like, why can't you just throw this on, press to play, and just, do the whole thing right? I mean, do you ever think about this? What about an archive edition of all the best? Think about that. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I'd buy it.
I mean, it would be like the ultimate all the best, because you could incorporate all the U.S., UK, the aborted lineup. Maybe throw Water Spout on there, and I'd buy that in a second.
Listen, listen. Seriously, honestly, this could have been a 3-record set in my estimate. I mean, in my opinion.
What else are you adding to it other than the 2 you've talked about?
Well, again, you're looking at, high could probably have gone on there, right? That's missing. Like, again, take it away. Press, something you probably could have put on there. Spies Like Us, and then or kind of make it like the hot hits, cold cuts, where you throw on something like a Water Spout or like a Mama's Little Girl, one of those gems that hadn't been released yet until those 89 CD singles where you started to get more, more songs on them.
Could you make a case for Wonderful Christmas Time being included on here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You could.
Yeah. Because you got, so many other, second, third singles from albums, like the I've Had Enough, right? Or like Venus and Mars Rock Show, song, Getting Closer, Arrow Through Me, stuff that were top 40, right? Not necessarily top 10, but they were all top 40,
Right.
So I mean, that's the you really could have made this a very nice 3 LP set where
you could have, but I do think it is a pretty glaring omission. I know you're tired of it. You prefer the studio one, but in the U.S. to not put the live version of Maybe I'm Amazed on here is probably the only oversight with this whole thing. I mean, that was one of his biggest hits.
Good point. It was a top 10. I mean,
how is that not on all the best?
Yeah, right. Listen, if it's top 10 or higher, it definitely should have been on all the
I mean, and it wasn't even on Wings' greatest.
Right.
So you've got 2 hits compilations that don't have what people arguably think is his best song ever, not on one of these compilations, which is crazy when you think about it. And not only, and then until I think Wingspan gave us the studio one, but not the live, right?
Wingspan, I think that was, I think
Wingspan was the studio cut.
Right, studio version.
So has the live version of Maybe I'm Amazed been made available on any Paul McCartney compilation? And I think the answer is no, it hasn't. Think about it. Outside of, it's got the 12-inch single release from Record Store. It got that. We got that. But on a compilation, let's go through it. Wings Greatest, not on there. All the Best, not on there. Well, it's the studio cut is on, but not the live version. They're not UK or US, no live version.
No, I'm fine with it. I mean,
really?
As always, I prefer studio over live any day of the week.
For Maybe I'm Amazed. Wow.
For anything, really.
You do.
Yeah.
Just whereas live just doesn't. Even those Speed of Sound songs.
Hey, look, those Speed of Sound songs are fantastic live. All right, let's make no bones about it. But I mean, when it all comes down to it, if I want to listen to silly love songs, Beware My Love, Let 'Em In, or anything else that they played on Rock Show, I'm going to put on Speed of Sound.
You will.
I'm not going to put on Wings Over America.
It also just helped too, I think, because of the time period with All the Best. It was the height of the video age. You were seeing Say, No More Lonely Nights on with somewhat regularity. Not like when they came out, but having that visual aid, in the 80s, really kind of worked with the music. I know that song because I saw the crazy video where he's like himself 4 times. Although I'm like, that coming up on this is a lot different than the coming up video that I'm watching because it's not the same song.
Yeah. Right, I do like how what the UK has the studio version of Coming Up, right, and the US has the live version
Right.
of Coming Up. So this was like the first release, that really. I mean, we all know the Band on the Run, right? I mean, with Hell on Wheels, but this release right here, I mean, so many differences in the in the track listings. The UK getting so many more songs on
Yep.
it than the US version. So I mean, this whole release is just fascinating in general.
It is. I mean, and to throw something like "We All Stand Together" on there, which a lot
Right,
of people are just like,
right.
why are you throwing that on there?
Well, again, it's
It's a
a hit.
children's song, but it's a hit. It was a hit, and one of his, the collab, one of the final, a great collaboration with George Martin. That was really the first song that they worked on together, and the last one
Right.
issued in '84. So yeah, it neatly tied up all those things. The Wings period. This is why you say, like, is Wings just a band or Paul McCartney? No, it's Paul McCartney. Like, if you're putting Wings
Yeah.
material on here, it wasn't Paul McCartney and Wings all the best. You've got Let 'Em In, Silly Love Songs, Band on the Run here because they're written by Paul McCartney. That's that
Another,
age
yeah,
old debate.
right. Another interesting thing about this release as well is the first two songs that lead off both songs. I mean, listen, on the US version you get Band on the Run going into Jet, and
Right.
then in the K version you got Jet going into Band on the Run. Now me, I'm just so used to hearing Jet following Band on the Run that it's just so weird hearing Jet first, then Band on
And
the
then
Run.
Band on the Run. That's cool. That's kind of why I like the
Yeah.
UK one a little bit better because it opens up with Jet instead of Band on the Run
Mhm.
all the time. I mean, I even played the cassette just the other day just to get ready for it. Just listening to that analog hissy sound, it just was
Right.
fantastic just to hear those sounds again. For some reason, I remember just Sea Moon sticking out like a sore thumb when I would listen to that. I'm like, God, that song it just sticks out. Like, I don't love it. It's there. I mean, now Sea Moon or High High High. I mean, flip a coin, right? I mean, which one? I probably would have preferred High High High. It shows a little more of Paul's
Yeah.
rocking side to be on
Yeah.
here.
True. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Agreed.
Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know,
I mean, again, if you're going to go for like the triple LP,
then you include
definitely you're gonna
that
put yeah, you definitely include Mary Had a Little Lamb and Give Ireland Back to the
because
Irish. Why not?
that was a top 10 song in America. Mary Had a Little Lamb went to number 9. So, but these were the bona fide smash hits, and you can't argue with that. But then you got like things like Sea Moon on there. Obviously, let's see. Junior's Farm is on the American, not the British.
Right, right. And I was just looking, and I think that's the full version.
Yes,
However, I think it's the U.S. that doesn't have the full version of with a little luck.
the U.S. has the edited version of With a Little Luck,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But now, see, on the UK CD, you've got no With a Little Luck on CD. That's only on the US.
It's yeah. I
It's
would have loved to
crazy.
have been in that board meeting and saying, okay, we're gonna put this one here. We're not gonna put that one there. You know,
Right. But
this
as
side of Atlantic's gonna get all those tunes.
right, but for
So
CD, but on the LP, you got that. You like the UK LP has With a Little Luck on it. But
right,
why? Like, who made the decision to make the cuts for the CD format? Obviously, 17 tracks on both.
right.
So the running, but as you say, we went over the running time. It's just, it's very interesting to think about, well, we thought this market would like this better, so we're going to put it on there. I mean, they probably were like, well, there's no way we can put, Mulleth Can Tire and We All Stand Together on an American All the Best. We're just not going to do that. You or I wouldn't have cared, right?
No, no.
It's the 80s. Like, nobody thinks that way anymore now in terms of markets and how to make something. This is the compilation. I'm putting it out and roll with it.
Right.
It's just and it really ends up being, I think, the beginning of Paul being okay, being confident again, and then getting with Elvis and doing half those songs, getting a band together and going out and touring again for the first time since '79, but worldwide touring since '76. I mean, that's why I think this period in his life is pretty important, because he's like, okay, I've just had some really critically drubbed things, and 2 albums and a film that people really, really didn't like. What the hell am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to put a greatest hits package out of everything I've done, push a new single, and get a band together and just start, and then he shortly, and then he starts then he does the Russian album. So it's a very, I can't wait to read about this period of his life when we get maybe volume 3 of the McCartney legacy.
Yes. Volume 3 of the McCartney legacy. Yes, and I think it's going to happen. I mean, we've heard so many different things while chatting with Adrian and Alan.
We saw the cover for volume
rumors.
2 too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty sharp.
Pretty sharp. We know what color the book jacket's going to be as well. So
We do.
Yeah, yeah. Really looking forward to it. But,
we are. So
yeah.
this was just a little fun excuse to go down memory lane and think about when I first really came and discovered Paul, and this was my what did they say, gateway. A lot of people use the Red and Blue albums. They always cite that. Oh, that's how I first got into the Beatles, was those Red and Blue albums.
Right.
Well, I felt the same way about All the Best, and it was the same exact thing. I mean, so many people, you read those stories about Red and Blue. That's how I discovered them, or it was my first, second generation fans. It's how they discovered them. Those compilations
Right.
and compilations. That's what they're geared for. And then you either just kind of have it and stay a casual fan, or you become people like Tom and I and get everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the U.S. definitely played it safe with this release, which is more disappointing when you look at it, now as a hardcore fan.
Yeah, and I love the video commercial for it, which you saw because we tacked it on the front of the episode. It's so awesome to see, all those songs, animated Paul, and then coming and ending it, and available and compact disc, tape, cassette. That was when you were like, oh my God, this is really a thing. I can get this.
Yeah. When you look at it, you look at the U.S., you got, the first side, 4 tracks, three are number 1. Okay. You look at side 2 of this
Looking
one,
at the American now.
4 tracks.
Yeah.
Two of them are number 1. Side 3, you look at it, you've got one. Well, one was a number 1. You got Live and Let Die was number 2. You got Another Day was number 3. You look at side 4, you got With a Little Luck and My Love. So 2 more number 1s on side 4. So it's all of these were top 10 hits. I just think Sea Moon was the only one that wasn't.
That wasn't. And again, no Uncle Albert on the UK, because that was a huge song here.
Because it was the number 1 here. Yeah. So again, just really interesting. How they decided to decide. Which tracks were going to go where.
No, yeah, and why? So I'd be very curious to read about this when in Legacy when it comes out, and I know Adrian and Alan will have they'll have all the research done on this period of Paul's life. Interesting enough too. Also, it's on my wish list, and I know it's still yours. There's not that many around. Is that promotional singles box that came out with this thing? I looked last night. I found one for I think it was like 200 and something bucks. It was like $200 from the UK without shipping.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a really cool promotional set that DJs were given. We know our friend John Blaney has a copy.
He does.
I know Mayo's got a copy because he found one at his at one of his record stores.
Joe, make me an offer. I'll make me an offer.
So that's a. Really
I'll make you. I'll make you an offer rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you make him an offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a box of cannolis or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Leave the gun. Take the cannolis.
Take the cannolis. There you go. You knew where I was going with that.
So yeah, go give this a spin again, UK, US, and let us know what you think in the comments. Which version of the great of All the Best you prefer? I go back and forth, but I generally go with the UK now. Was it your entry point to Paul solo? Depending on what your age is, or did you just pass it by, or does it just is it I don't need it. I've got Pure McCartney, or I've got Wingspan. Different compilations mean different things to different people depending on where you are when you came into the story.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan now, if you're just becoming a fan over the last 20 years or so, I mean, if you're a completist, you only get this if you're a completist, right?
Now,
now, unless you're a hardcore fan, you get it because you're a completist. If you're just like a beginner or middle of the road, good chance you're probably not going to seek these out.
No, you'll listen to pure McCartney on Spotify or Apple Music, and that'll be
Right.
good for you. But as I said when we started, if there's people old enough watching, and even if you're young enough to appreciate, what having a compilation meant in an era when you were younger and you weren't working all the time, and you got it as a gift, and you didn't know a lot of these songs, and you held on to it like it was like a lifeline. It was
Right.
Now we have everything. It's online. We have every copy. So with decades now, we're like, But at the time, that's when I was listening to this again. I was remembering that feeling of like, wow, this is a pretty special thing in my collection. I'm holding on to it for dear life. And then, time moves on. It's interesting. And then again, as we've discussed, the configurations, the UK version, everything that's been chopped off. Very interesting to look back at it. Let us know what you think in the comments below about
Yeah.
all the best. And, have you not touched it? Let us know below. Let us know what you think. But, Thomas, what else is cooking for you right now? And Talk More Talkers.
Well, we're obviously by the time this is posted, the panel we did at the fest, the Talk More Talk Two Legs 1974 discussion will have been posted on the Talk More Talk YouTube channel and Talk More Talk audio podcasting platforms. So please do check that out. That was a lot of fun. We obviously we missed Kid O'Toole. It would have been great if all of us were there, but unfortunately it was not to be. We are still hammering out what we're going to do for our next show. So maybe by the time this is posted on Saturday, we'll kind of have an idea. I mean, obviously, we're looking into maybe reaching out to Aaron to see if he wants to come on and talk about the Dark Horse Records. I know I would love to do that discussion with him, but again, it's just sometimes it takes a little while to agree. When you have four people doing a show, sometimes it takes a few days or weeks to decide
Think
what
about
we're
think
gonna
about how
do.
the Beatles
Yeah,
felt. Think about how the
yeah,
Beatles
right,
felt.
exactly. Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and folks too, with this one, we have changed our start time. We're dropping up our episodes a little bit later now on YouTube. Let us know if you like that, or if you prefer the older
yeah.
start time.
Yeah, exactly.
We've just done some numbers crunching, and we want to just play around with our times when we drop shows on YouTube to see if that helps our numbers. We're inching closer to 2,000. We seem to be stuck at 1,890 for like 6 months now. We're not at quite 1,900 yet, but we're getting there. But we're doing things to try to shake up the numbers and see if that does any better for us. So in the UK, we apologize for that because that means it's probably going to be later for you all. But it's the beauty of YouTube; you could watch it anytime you want. It just wouldn't drop you wouldn't be able to see it probably as a live premiere. So we're going to drop them a little bit later in the day here on the in the Eastern Standard Time Zone now, instead of 10 a.m. Eastern, in the hopes of maybe getting a little more views for us moving forward with our content and our shows.
Yes.
Also, coming down the pipe, don't know when yet, but if you haven't picked it up yet, please pick up a copy of Record Collector. This is it's a UK publication which just kind of came out and hit the States a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and I have been in contact with the editor-in-chief, and we're looking to have him on an episode of Two Legs in the near future, probably in March. And it'll be great because there's articles about every album written by many different journalists and authors. So if you haven't picked this up, you can get it at Barnes and Nobles. I think it was $20. Probably the most in-depth magazine I've seen on Paul's solo career ever. With the discography, and I know you've leafed through it too, partner. It's
No, I mean,
pretty in-depth.
I love it when somebody's talking about Paul's discography. I love it when they include the classical stuff, the
Everything.
experimental stuff,
everything.
Yeah.
So pick this up if you can. I mean, every album assessed from McCartney to McCartney 3 and the discography. So the level of work that went into this is awesome, and I've been in touch with Daryl Easley. I think that's how I pronounce his name. Hopefully we'll have a show lined up with him for March as well. As for me, I've got a show on my my own channel that I don't know if as of this recording it's not up yet. It might be by the time this airs. I did a guest appearance at a college radio station with a buddy of mine talking about Yes, so that will be on my channel soon if it's not already. And we geeked out with Yes for an hour and a half as well. So that is on my channel as well. On that, well, we played music too, so it wasn't. That's why it ate up a lot of the time. And you can do that with Yes
Tornado
music.
or whatever the hell that album's called.
Tornado? No, actually, we didn't get that far. We stopped at going for the one because we would have been there all night talking when we don't and playing records. So it was fun. That's on my channel, and that's about it, partner. So that's going to do it for episode 238 for Two Legs. For Tom, I'm Andy, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and be well.
Take care.
Listening to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols, with musical contributions by Dylan